Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards, and in this video we're going to look at 2022 Top Series 1 and see who the best rookies are. Every single time we have a flagship release, whether it's Series 1, Series 2, or Update, I do one of these videos where I look at a couple different factors that determine what are the best rookies you should be targeting, who could have the best success at Major League Baseball. I kind of break it down in 4 different categories. The first one is their age, and then you have their minor league success, their big league success, and then their prospect rankings. I think these are 4 really good categories that determine if a player is going to be good, just because obviously the prospect rankings, they've been scouted a whole bunch. With minor league success shows they've been able to prove it. They've done it at the big league in a very short time as they were rookies, just basically coming up, and now they're getting their rookie card. And then we have age, because the younger a player is, the more investable that player is, since they have a better chance of making the Hall of Fame, which I know is a long shot for a lot of rookies, if all rookies. But the point is, the younger they are, the more time you have to really capitalize on their sale as they hit their prime, mid to late 20s. If they debuted at age 28, it makes it harder than if they debuted at age 21, for example, to make some money on their cards. So I'll show you quickly how I kind of will rank these. You can see Tony Santian is the first player we'll look at in a moment, but if it's age, he's going to be in his age 24 season, so he gets 6 points. Prospect ranking, not a ranked prospect, 0. If he was a top 10 prospect, he'd get 10 points. If he was a top 20 prospect, he'd get 9 points. Top 90, he'd get 1 point, and so forth. Their minor league stats, on a scale of 1 to 5, how good they were in the minor leagues, and their major league stats, how good they were in the big leagues, 1 to 10 as well. You get the total of that, then average it, and that's how we'll rank everybody on this list. So let's first just discuss the checklist of 2022 Top Series 1. It's pretty rough. I can see why Topps held back Wander Franco, because if they didn't, this would be one of the worst checklists in a long time. And there's some good players on there, and we'll talk about Brandon Marsh. We'll talk about all the different pitchers that are on here. Very pitcher heavy for the top players, but there's always a couple players who go under the radar that'll be worth money in the future. I believe there's 49 rookies on the checklist, and you can see they are pulling on 1987 again. We do that every single year. It feels like pulling on this wood grain. I hope they're done with that for a while because it's getting a little old. This is Wander Franco's rookie card. You can see it has a nice border. It looks kind of like Topps big leagues from the years past, but overall, I think it looks good. I am glad there's borders, make the parallels look so much better with the gold, the black, the Mother's Day, whatever else you want to say. It'll look a lot better with the borders. So here is the checklist, 330 cards, 49 rookies, and you're going to see right off the bat, there are not many top tier players, but there are still some to target if you're opening, which I recommend you could, because the ceiling with Franco is really, really high. So I bet you a lot of people are going to be opening, but who else should you look for besides him? So let's just pull this up right now. We have Tony Santian, number 1. He is 24 years old for the Reds. He's a good player. He actually pitched really well in the big league. So you can see over here, he had 1.5 WAR with a sub 3 ERA, not much run support it looks like, or he was coming out of the bullpen, which makes it harder as, you can lose games real easily if you let up 1 run. He was ranked in the past, didn't really factor because it wasn't 2021 or 2022, but in the minor leagues, he has a career 3.8 ERA, but the thing that really helped me was in AAA this last year, as age 24, he put up a 2.13 ERA, and then in big leagues had a 2.91 ERA. So he is probably going to be the closer or a late inning reliever heading into next year, which limits some of his value as well since he's not a big league starter. Next up, we have Luis Gill for the New York Yankees. He is a good player. Right here, you can see we have him as he's going to his age 25 season. He's actually ranked in the 90th area by Major League Baseball. His minor league stats are really good, and his big league stats are really good. He has an overall better resume than Tony Santia, overall 3.08 for his entire career. His big league stats may not be perfect, but still a 3.07 ERA is awesome, and you wouldn't be surprised if he's starting with the Yankees next year, just because more pitching you have, the better, which could give his card some upside, but again, he's a pitcher, so take that for what it's worth. After that, we have Josiah Grey, another pitcher. Josiah Grey was acquired by the Nationals from the Dodgers in the Trey Turner trade, and overall, he had a really bad year for the Nationals, but he's a very highly rated prospect, as you can see down here. And that's why he got 4 points, because he's in the top 60 for prospect rankings. His minor league stats are awesome. A 2.41 ERA in the minors with a 14-5 record. Really good. I know records on everything, but I don't need to break down too much of whip. Anything sub 1 whip is like elite. It's really good. Usually a good whip is between 1 and 1.15. So a sub 1 is like awesome. Best in baseball, but he was in the minor leagues. When he came to the big leagues, that success did not translate quite yet, but overall, he has all the tools to be one of the best pitchers for the Nationals now that they have lost Scherzer. They do have Strasburg, they do have Patrick Corbin. He's been not very good for the Nationals, sadly. How good that Scherzer signing was, the Corbin signing's looking not very good right now, but he could get all back next year. So for that reason, Josiah Grey is number 8, just because he does have so much upside. If he was able to have his major league stats be better this year, say he was a 7 above average, he'd probably be be a top 2 or 3. But because it's not, that's why he's there. Next up at number 7, we have Matt Manning. Matt Manning did not do well in the big leagues this year. He just didn't. But he's with the Tigers. They have such a young core that's so good. And he was actually a top 20 prospect, so that gives him 8 points there. Plus, he's a little bit younger, I believe. Yeah, heading into his age 24 season. And so all of these things add up. And even though he has relatively good minor stats, they aren't as good as some of these other players. If we go scroll down and look at his total resume, right here in AAA, he didn't pitch that well. Only 7 games, has an 8 ERA. But before, he was doing really well in 2019. And then in 2020, there wasn't a minor league season. So Matt Manning, he was a top prospect, still is a top prospect, just hasn't figured it out in the big leagues, but that could translate eventually as he ages and figures some things out. So that's why I have him at number 7. At number 6, we have another picture, Kyle Mohler. If we go pull up his stats, you can see he actually has had relatively good big league success. He was a top prospect in the 50s, and he is younger in his age 24 season. You know, in 2021 in the minor leagues, he had a 3.39 ERA, career minors a 3.10 ERA. So he does have potential to be a good pitcher. His big league stats were average to maybe slightly above average, but all this adds up because he was a really top prospect, having him around 5.5 for his average score. Now we have a hitter. Yay. Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh is for the Angels. He's a really toolsy player. He doesn't really have the sexiest numbers right now, but they believe he'll be able to be in the big leagues for a long time and develop some of these tools. If we scroll down and look, he had positive WAR in 2021, which is good, better than being negative, but his OPS plus, which is compared to league average OPS, is on base and slugging. OPS plus at 100 is the average OPS for big leaguers. So that's not great. Defensively, he provided value. On the base pass, he provided value. He is a top 40 prospect, which is where he gets some of these points from. You can see over here, according to Major League Baseball's, their newest rankings is actually in the 70s. So that's why his prospect ranking is a little bit lower. But his minor league stats, they're good. They're above average. If we go take a peek at those, we can see he had over 800 OPS in the minor leagues with a 288 batting average. When he was with Salt Lake Bees, he had an 832 OPS and not a ton of power. Never has had a ton of power, but he could develop because of the way he plays, but really fast, really athletic, which is kind of what people are banking on. And that's why he's been a top prospect for years. Essentially, you can see the last 3 years, he's been a top prospect according to Baseball Prospectus, and the Major League Baseball currently has him in the 70s, like I said, but still a good player. Big leagues, it'll have to translate. As people have said, he'll take over center field over Mike Trout as he moves to the one of the corner outfield positions. I don't think that's going to happen yet. I think it'll happen in the next 3 years, but right now you'll see an outfield of Brandon Marsh, Justin Upton, Mike Trout, and Joe Adell taking turns for those 3. So Brandon Marsh is probably number 5 on this list, one of the first hitters, which is nice to see. At number 4, you have Jaren Duran. He is a prospect for the Red Sox. He's a little bit younger. He's not had much success in the big leagues yet at all, but he is a top ranked prospect. You can see over here we have him as a top 70 prospect. His minor league stats are awesome, and we'll dive into those. His major league stats are not awesome, and he is 25, going to his age 25 season, which helps him there to get the average score up to 5.75. With Jaren Duran, you can see again minor league stats, an 834 OPS with a 307 batting average, 24 home runs in 3 seasons, so not really a power hitter yet, but he could develop as he ages, and he just has some of those tools and on a good team to make him a better player. But if we go look at his big league stats, again, a 215 batting average with negative 0.7 WAR and a terrible OPS plus of 51. I gave him 3, could have given him 2. I don't really give me prospects 1 unless they were like negative 3 WAR, just because they're figuring it out in the big leagues. But I gave him a 3. You could argue could be even lower based off of these numbers. But overall, Jaren Duran is one of the better prospects and better rookies to look for in this set. At number 3, I have Vidal Brujan, and he's a good player, but he's really similar to everybody on this list. They're not elite. Like when I did 2021 Top Series 1, there was a ton of players you could argue could be in the top 10, and they had really good minor league stats, and they could be awesome players, but there's just not as much of that. You know, they only have 3 hitters so far, and Vidal Brujan, he is a top prospect. As you can see, if we look here, he is in the top 20, which is why he's so high. His minor league stats are above average. He's 24 years old in this next season, which gives him a pretty high score here. His big league stats just aren't there, but he's toolsy enough that people have ranked him so high, and he could eventually become a solid big leaguer, but it's not somebody I'd put a ton of money behind. If we look, a negative 56 OPS plus, negative 0.6 WAR, not good. How many games has he even played in though? 26 at-bats, so take it with a grain of salt. But you still have to leverage it the same, because if he had 0.8 WAR and that 26 at-bats, he would have gotten 6 points, for example. So overall, he's multi-position second baseman, shortstop, and outfielder. He will not be playing second base with another player on this list coming up for the Rays, but he will be a player that they'll use this year, which will help his values. And you can see his minor league stats, 793 OPS, which is okay, a 288 batting average, which is pretty good. And if we look at his AAA this year in 2021, he was a good player. 785, really nothing crazy, but a good player, which we gave him around 5 or 6 for his minor league stats. So that's Vidal Brujan, and he's going to be an expensive to get in breaks because Wander Franco is going to be there as well, and that's going to make the Rays really expensive. At number 2, we have another Angel, Reed Detmers. Reed Detmers was drafted by the Angels in 2020, I believe, and he was fast-tracked to the big leagues because they need pitching help. They basically picked him because he was the most MLB-ready arm in that draft. If we look at Reed Detmers' numbers, he didn't have a great debut, but that's okay. You know, he only pitched in 14 minor league games between college and the big leagues. So it is what it is. He pitched well in the minor leagues with a 3.19 ERA, 3-4 record, but records don't matter as much. It's not like something you really need to be concerned about. It's more of the peripherals, and you can see a 1.145 whip. Pretty good. Not bad at all. He's a solid pitcher, and he had a lot of success in the years 2019 and 2020 with Louisville when he had a 278 and a 123 ERA respectively. So overall, I do like Reed Detmers a lot, but he'll also be expensive in breaks because the second best team is probably the Angels with Ohtani and Trout. We also have Brandon Marsh as a rookie. So it's tough. Some of the very best prospects are on the same team, which will make this a very hard product with random team breaks. Basically, it's raise or bust because at number 1, you have Mr. Wander Franco. And Wander Franco, this is the highest score I've ever given anybody over the last 4 times I've done this. I did this in Series 1, Series 2, and update in 2021. But overall, he's 21 years old, so he gets 9 points there. He's the number 1 prospect, so 10 points. His minor league stats are amazing. His major league stats are really good. His defense hurt him, so I put him at an 8.5. But let's go look at his baseball reference page and be in awe of him. Number one, has been for a few years. Switch hitting shortstop. He'll develop power as he ages really quick. He surprises you with his speed because it's not like he's a top sprint speed person in Major League Baseball. But Wander Franco, he's still a very good baseball player, and he knows how to play. He knows how to do offense, defense, base running, everything. His defense was tough this last year. He was not very good on outs above average and defensive WAR. He was below average. But overall, let's go look at his minor league stats. 331 batting average at the 934 OPS, 27 home runs, 145 RBI. He has a very good plate discipline with 97 walks, only 75 strikeouts for his entire minor league career in 215 games. So that's where all this hype is coming from, and that's why Series 1 of this year probably has a higher ceiling than Series 1 of last year, even though there's better rookies in Series 1 of last year overall. But the floor is higher from last year because if he doesn't play well, if Franco doesn't play well, then this whole checklist is kind of in trouble because there's no one else that can hold it up. Even an update, you had Kelenic and you had Andrew Vaughn and you had a couple other players that, you know, there's multiple rookies that are worth targeting. I think Alek Manoah, the pitcher, was there, and I'm probably higher at Alek Manoah than any of these pitchers in this set. But because of this one individual player, it's going to be a hot set. If we even look at the checklist, Wander is on a lot of it. So here's his base rookie card. He has a combo rookie card down here as well. And then if we go to base set rookies, let's scroll down. This is the clear checklist. He'll have different parallels, obviously, but he's on every single autograph checklist, which is what you're basically hoping for. And the autograph checklist for this year is a lot better than most years. I know it's almost impossible to pull autographs out of retail and out of hobby boxes, but at Jumbo, there still is some upside. You can see he's in every single one. He has different parallels and different sets as well, like insert sets, which makes this product more attractive for a lot of people because it's the first place to get insert rookies of Wander and to get the base autographs of Wander and all these things. So that's why this product's expensive, even though overall it's not that good aside from the number 1 player. So buy with caution, buy some retail, pull a couple Wander rookies, put them away. And with how many are probably going to be printed, it's not going to be worth super valuable. But hey, you never know. Base rookies will go for $30. So it is what it is in PSA 10. Maybe you'll get $150 out of it. Not bad. But overall, buy with caution. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with my picks, disagree with my picks. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.